Published 8:29 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 18th of October 2018. Updated 10:52 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 18th of October 2018. Tony Blair was among 3 ex-prime ministers at a memorial service celebrating the life of Dame Tessa Jowell today. Mr. Blair gave a eulogy to 1,000 other mourners at Southwark Cathedral, including Gordon Brown and David Cameron, 5 months after she lost her brave battle at the age of 70. The former Labour leader revealed he was opposed to London 2012, but Dame Tessa convinced him otherwise and said, "I resisted, she persisted, I desisted." Mr. Blair said his former cabinet minister was a woman whose compassion which did not pass when the news cycle moved on at a service attended by Sadiq Khan and Ed Miliband, but Jeremy Corbyn appears to have stayed away. Her daughter Jessie recalled her mother's endless, heart-bursting, infinite love, and husband David Mills revealed his wife's last words were love forever. Before he spoke, Mr. Blair was seen smiling and talking with his former Chancellor Gordon Brown, the first time the Labour grandees have been photographed together for several years. Tony Blair, pictured in discussion with his former Chancellor Gordon Brown, spoke emotionally about Dame Tessa Jowell at a memorial service at Southwark Cathedral in London today. In his eulogy, Mr. Blair drew roars of laughter as he recalled how she had successfully persuaded him of the merits of hosting the London 2012 Olympics. He said, "I resisted, she persisted, I desisted." Tony Blair shakes hand with David Cameron. The pair were one of 3 former prime ministers at the memorial service today. The former prime minister revealed he was not sure about going for London 2012, but Dame Tessa would not give up until he gave in. Tony Blair kisses Gordon Brown's wife Sarah at Southwark Cathedral today as they remembered Dame Tessa Jowell. Former Labour colleagues David Blunkett and Alistair Campbell were in attendance. The former Home Secretary, Left, and Mr. Blair's spin doctor, Right, were key figures in the new Labour administration that governed from 1997 to 2010. The architects of New Labour reportedly fell out over the so-called Granita Pact carved out in a Mexican restaurant in 1994. Mr. Brown agreed not to run for the Labour leadership in return for taking over from Mr. Blair during his second term as Prime Minister, but he ended up staying on for a third in 2005. Baroness Jowell, a driving force behind the 2012 London Olympics, was commemorated by her friends, family and former colleagues in an emotional service that paid tribute to her endless, heart-bursting, infinite love. The Labour politician, who served under Mr. Blair, died in May aged 70 after being diagnosed with the brain cancer glioblastoma multiforme. Mr. Blair drew roars of laughter as he recalled how she had successfully persuaded him of the merits of hosting the London 2012 Olympics, her brainchild. He said, "I resisted, she persisted, I desisted." The new Labour leader paid tribute to Dame Tessa, saying not a day goes by without him thinking of her. Her love for her family and friends was a beautiful thing to witness and a pleasure to be near, he said. She was unafraid to stand up for her friends, unafraid to stand up to them, but always standing by them, he added. The former Labour leader drew roars of laughter as he recalled how she had successfully persuaded him of the merits of hosting the London 2012 Olympics, her brainchild. Dame Tessa's political career spanned more than 40 years, pictured Left in 1978, and her brave public battle with brain cancer inspired many people until her death this year. Mr. Blair also said that Dame Tessa's love and compassion was genuine and not to make headlines for herself or Labour. David Cameron spoke with Gordon Brown at the service, who he took over from as Prime Minister in 2010. The head of Blair's spin machine at the height of Mr. Blair's power, Alistair Campbell, laughs in conversation with Mr. Blair, and another mourner also attending the service were former Labour leader Ed Miliband, Left, former Home Secretary Lord Blunkett, Mayor of London Sadiq Khan, pictured, Commons Speaker John Bercow, and London 2012 Chairman Lord Coe. The new Labour leader paid tribute to Dame Tessa, saying not a day goes by without him thinking of her. Shown chatting with Ed Miliband said, "I resisted, she persisted, I desisted." His friend and former colleague grew in character in the months after her diagnosis, he said. Tessa died with so much still to give, but if life is measured not in how long you live but by how much you give, she lived a length of biblical proportions. He ended, "Tessa, we love you, we thank you, and we will never, ever forget you." Mr. Blair's successors at 10 Downing Street were also in attendance, among the dozens of senior politicians who gathered to pay tribute to the late Culture Secretary. Gordon Brown and David Cameron were seated in pews near former Labour leader Ed Miliband, former Home Secretary Lord Blunkett, Mayor of London Sadiq Khan, Commons Speaker John Bercow and London 2012 Chairman Lord Coe. The memorial came as Mr. Khan announced a walkway in the Olympic Park will be named in her honour. Laughter rang out at several moments during the 1.5-hour service, as colleagues remembered her insistence on holding multiple meetings and always being on a diet. Dame Tessa's daughter Jessie recalled her mother's endless, heart-bursting, infinite love. She said, "To be loved like this since the moment we were born and to be her children is the single greatest privilege of our lives," and Dame Tessa's husband, David Mills, gave the final tribute. "She demonstrated a love that was unchanging, uncomplicated, unquestioning and selfless," he said. His wife's last words were "love forever," he added. He said, "To know that she was held in such high esteem, was loved by so many. All that is a consolation which will in some measure always beguile our grief." Mr. Cameron sat alone reading the order of service at Southwark Crown Court, which is close to London Bridge Station. Former Labour leader Ed Miliband laughs with Gordon Brown with Tony Blair in the foreground of the photograph. Lord Coe, who attended the memorial service at Southwark Cathedral, worked closely with the former Culture Secretary to make London 2012 happen. Mr. Mills said how, as she neared the end of her life, Dame Tessa found it increasingly difficult to communicate. But, he said, one word, which we have heard a lot today, was on her lips more than any other: love, love forever. They were Tessa's last words, he added. Long queue which snaked around the cathedral's perimeter an hour before the service started was testament to her enduring popularity. Dame Tessa died in May after suffering from a glioblastoma, a multiform brain tumor which was diagnosed the previous year. A well-liked figure in Parliament, she played a major role in securing the 2012 Olympics for London when she served as Culture Secretary. She also championed the Sure Start initiative, which aimed to give children the best possible start in life through improvements in better access to childcare, early education, health and family support. In the months before her death, she moved fellow peers to tears as she used the House of Lords as a platform to discuss her condition and call for patients to have better access to experimental treatment.